Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Naomi Rook. If you're brand new to my channel, consider subscribing. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Also make sure to ring the notification bell so you can be notified anytime I do upload a video. Today what I'm going to do is a much anticipated, a little bit dreaded video. This is my eyeshadow palette collection and declutter. I have been doing this series since before the beginning of the year. I wanted to go through my entire collection, show you everything I have, and declutter what I no longer want in my collection. I really like doing videos this way. Instead of just like pointing the camera down at the products, I just want to show you them. I'll tell you which ones I'm going to keep, which ones I'm going to declutter. I am going to do this extremely fast, rapid fire. I'm not going to do swatches, and I'm not going to talk about any of these eyeshadow palettes too much. Just a very quick synopsis of my thoughts on the palette, if I'm keeping it, if I'm decluttering it, because I have a lot. I have close to 70, I believe it was 68, but I might have missed a couple. So almost 70 eyeshadow palettes. It's going to take a second. I definitely needed to do this one because I'm coming to an end of this series. If you are curious about any of this makeup on my face, it will be in my second impression. I want to do a video of products that I've already done a first impression, a second impression on products that maybe I haven't talked about a whole lot on my channel. So if you'd like to see what is on my face, I will have that video linked down below. That will be on my channel already. So let's go ahead and hop into my eyeshadow palette collection and declutter. So I'm going to go ahead and first start with my Jeffree Star Cosmetics eyeshadow palette. I have almost every single one of his palettes. I really love the formula. I think it is a great formula. I really love the concepts behind his palettes. So let's go and start there. So the first one I have is my Blood Money. I really love this one. It is all grains. Monochromatic grains are my favorite, so I'm definitely going to be keeping this one. The next is the Blue Blood. I really love this. I don't really wear blues all that often, but if I am, this is one I grab for all the time. I love these mattes down here. I think they're really pretty. This is beautiful. I do have the Conspiracy palette. This was a Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson collaboration. I don't really wear this one a whole lot. Their colors are not something I wear, and honestly, I'm just over this palette, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. I think this is probably the only one of Jeffree Star's that I am going to declutter. Next is the tried and true, his classic Blood Sugar palette. I love this one. I do not use reds and pinks all that often, but if I do, I go for this one every single time. And this white color down here is the best white in my collection, so I really love this palette. I love his cremated eyeshadow palette. This is a great gradient from white to black to gray. Love all the colors. The metallics are incredible. If I'm needing a smoky eyeshadow look, I go to this one every single time. Next is his Jawbreaker palette. This is one of my absolute most favorites from him. This is a rainbow palette, but I love that there is some depth, there is some neon, there's pastels, there's beautiful metallics. Really love this one a lot. If I'm wanting something super bright and pigmented and very colorful, I go for that one. My absolute favorite eyeshadow palette in my collection is the Jeffree Star Alien palette. I really love this one. My favorite color story. I love the swampy tones of this palette, the greens and the browns. Really love this one a lot. My favorite eyeshadow palette in my collection. My most favorite nude palette, this is the Jeffree Star Orgy. I love this palette so much. This is a full matte eyeshadow palette gradient from dark brown to light brown. If I'm needing any type of neutral browns, I go for this palette. The last one that I have from him is the Bloodlust. I love the Luxe packaging. I think this is absolutely stunning. This is so beautiful. I love the purples, the royal jewel tones. I think this is so beautiful, and this is just like a work of art. I love the packaging and everything that goes with it. So there are all of my Jeffree Star Cosmetics palettes. Let's go ahead and jump into the next ones. I have only 3 Morphe palettes. I have the Morphe. This is the James Charles. This is so big. When it first came out, it was all the rage. I really thought it was a really exciting palette. Then it came out with the mini, and I regretted getting the big one. I am going to go ahead and declutter this one. I am not a huge fan of Morphe eyeshadows. I think they're just really run-of-the-mill, pretty basic, but I don't like huge palettes. I don't go into this one anymore. There's been a lot of stuff about James Charles, and I just am not a huge fan of his personality, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. A palette that I use quite often. This is a classic. This is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill. I still go into this one quite a lot. I think it's a really really nice palette. It has a lot of mattes. I really like the tones, kind of more pinky, rosy, mauve-y than I normally go for, but I do really like this one, so I will definitely be keeping that one. The last Morphe palette that I have is the Morphe X Jeffree Star palette. You know, I don't really like this one a whole lot. I didn't find that they worked all that great. I love the color story, but every pink and purple that I could ever need are in Jeffree's palettes. This is no longer available, so I am going to go ahead and declutter this from my collection because I don't find I use it a whole lot, and I have a lot of fallout from all the shadows, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter that one. I have only one Ace Beauty palette. This is the Nostalgia. I really love this. I think the colors are absolutely stunning. It's a great palette if I'm wanting to do a sunset eye. I love their color stories. I think it's really pretty, so I'm definitely going to keep that one. I think I only have one Violet Voss eyeshadow palette. This is the Flamingo. This is such a cute summer color story. I really like this one a lot. I bought this probably 5 years ago. I think it's really great. I use it all the time still, and I think the metallics are really pretty. Definitely going to keep that one. Another one that I've used quite a lot, this is the Iconic London. This is the Sunset to Sunrise palette. This is a really great neutral palette. I will say this is not the most pigmented. The colors are a little bit more lackluster, but I do like this for a more kind of subdued eyeshadow look. I think it's really pretty, so I'll keep that one as well. I do only have one Beauty Bay eyeshadow palette, and that is the X Nikki Tutorials palette. This is such a really fun, unique palette. I love the colors in here. The metallics are absolutely stunning. The mattes that they put in here are great for a very colorful palette, so I really love that eyeshadow palette. Definitely will not be decluttering that one. I have my two Blend Buddy Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes. I have the Surge and I have the Dollhouse. These have quickly become some of my favorite eyeshadow palettes in my collection. I really love the formula. Super blendable. The metallics are so wet looking. So here is the Surge. I really love all the colors in this palette. And here is the Dollhouse. This is such a unique color story. It's a neutral eyeshadow palette with some pops of color, just a little bit of uniqueness to it. I really love this palette a lot, and I think it definitely adds to my collection. Two palettes in my collection that I just loved for so long. These are the BH Cosmetics. These are holiday releases. This one was from 2020, and then this one was from 2021. This one is the Naughty palette. I really love these. I think they're so pretty. I have so much inspiration when looking at these palettes. I really enjoy using them. And then the Mrs. Claus, the Litless. I think this is my favorite of the two. I think it's so pretty. I really love how different all the colors are for being such a big palette. There is no overlapping colors. I really love these a lot, and I will continue to buy their holiday releases because I just think they're such great quality, and I really love the color stories. Next, I have my two Unicorn Cosmetics palette. I have the Wicked palette. This is a really dark, grungy fall Halloween theme. I love this one so much. It's such a pretty palette. I get so much use out of that during the winter and fall time. And then I have the Angel palette, which is the Wicked's kind of counterpart. It's a fairy forest type color story. I love it for spring and summer. So pretty. I really love the uniqueness of these palettes where they have the big pans and then they have the half pans. I never go through an eyeshadow color, so I like having a lot of options, so I love the half pans a lot. Next, I have my Made by Mitchell Feet on the Ground palette. I really love this. I think this is so great. It is another one of those neutral, gray, grungy, green, pukey kind of colors. I really love this type of color story. I have a lot of palettes with these kind of same colors. I have a lot of palettes that could probably dupe or be comparable to others, but I really love his formula, and I love this palette a lot. Alright, so there are my big eyeshadow palettes. I'm going to move to my medium-sized eyeshadow palettes. I'm sorry if I'm talking fast. I'm just trying to get through this video without it being a 30-minute video, so hopefully you'll forgive my fumbling of my speech, but I really do want to go through kind of fast. Two eyeshadow palettes from BH Cosmetics that I have loved for a very long time and I have gotten a ton of use out of. So this one is the Royal Affair. This has not been available for quite some time. I really loved it. This is one of the first eyeshadow palettes that I got that got me into the neutral, grungy, greeny type color stories. I am going to go ahead and declutter this. I've used it for a very long time. I've got quite big dips in a lot of the colors. I have really been loving this. This has been a hard one to let go, but I definitely got my use out of it, and it's no longer available. I don't really like using eyeshadow palettes that are no longer available on my channel, so these are two that I can't really use. The other one is the Desert Oasis. This is one of the first neutral palettes. I really started off with very colorful palettes, and that's all I had. So when I started getting more neutral eyeshadows, this is the first one I got. So beautiful. I really did love the highlighters. I get a lot of fallout from these metallics throughout the day. I end up with so much on my face. I'm going to go ahead and declutter these two BH Cosmetics palettes, but I've gotten so much use out of them, and I really did love them. A palette that pleasantly shocked me. I really love the Hip Dot. This is the Cenote. I love the color story so much. I think this is really pretty. I don't use a ton of blues, but what shocked me was the formula. The formula is absolutely fantastic. I really love Hip Dot's formula. I find that they are super blendable, and I can use multiple different colors of blue, but I can tell that they've used multiple different colors of blue. They do not get muddy. They don't kind of wash all together. They don't look dirty on the eyes. It is such a beautiful formula. Really like that one a lot, so I will definitely be keeping that. Next, I have the Dominique Cosmetics. This is the Transition palette. This is another all matte brown transition colors. If I had purchased the Jeffree Star Orgy palette before I had gotten this one, I would not be keeping this one, but I do find that they both have a spot in my collection. This is definitely a lot more warmth than the Jeffree Star Orgy, so I will keep this one if I'm needing some matte warm colors. I really do like this formula a lot, so I will be keeping that palette. One I will always keep in my collection because I do love it. It is no longer available, but this is the ColourPop So Jaded. This is a collaboration with Kathleen Lights. I love Kathleen Lights, and I've purchased pretty much everything she's ever collabed on. This is a really gorgeous 30 pan palette. I love this one so much. This is probably one of my favorite 30 pan palette, and definitely my favorite one from ColourPop. I think the colors are so beautiful, and I definitely pull this out quite often still to this day. I have not stopped using that just because I really love the color story. One that is my absolute favorite in my collection, but this is the Ofra Pro palette in Boho. So it is very warm, but I like this one because it does have brow products. It has highlighters, bronzer, blushes, so it is a really universal all over the face type of palette. Not my favorite because it is quite warm, but I will keep that in my collection because I do find myself kind of pulling for it for an entire face, or if I am traveling and I want something that is going to be warm, I'll grab that palette because it has everything I need. Next, I have the Poppy Cosmetics See You Never palette. Really like this one. This is a more pastel color story. I use this a lot during the winter and spring. I think it's really pretty. They're not the most pigmented colors. You do have to kind of build them up, so they're kind of like just a wash of color on your eyelids, which is not my absolute favorite. I definitely prefer something more pigmented, but I do like that color story. The next palette is my OPV Beauty. This is Tropical Dreams. I really love this one a lot. It is another green, neutral, kind of taupier color story. Really love this. Some of my favorite eyeshadow looks I've ever done has been with this palette, so I will definitely be keeping that one as well. A newer one to my collection, this is the She Glam. This is the Calm Capricorn palette. Of course, more greens and neutrals, but I do really like this palette, and I did just buy this, so I want to keep it so I can continue using it. I will say it is not my favorite formula I have. The mattes aren't super pigmented, and I do find that I kind of get the same look every single time I use that palette, but I will keep it in my collection just to get more use out of it. I'm going to declutter my ColourPop. This is the Semi Precious. I love this palette. These metallics in here are incredible. I'm not going to swatch many palettes, but I will swatch this one. These are some of the most pigmented metallics. They are so stunning and creamy. Only thing is that it is only metallics, and I really prefer a matte heavy palette. If anything, I don't really ever pull for this because it's only metallics, and I have all of these colors in other palettes, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter it, even though it is a really nice palette. It is also not available anymore, so I don't really like to keep those older not available palettes. Maybe it's something newer and not available, because most people have grabbed it, and if they have it, they might want a tutorial on it, but those ones are so old and they've been out for a really long time, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter that one. I have 4 palettes. I'm not going to declutter them. They are just classics, and I've loved them for a long time. One of my favorite palettes in my collection is the Urban Decay Naked Honey. I love this. Green and yellows are my favorite eyeshadows. I will say there's not a bunch of differentiation between all of the colors. They do kind of give you the same look. I don't care though. I think it's beautiful. I really love this palette, and for the summertime, like these bronzy kind of colors, oh, stunning. I love this palette a lot. Definitely keeping that one. My Anastasia Norvina palette. This is one of my favorites. So pretty. I don't wear purple all that often, but when I do, I grab for this palette. I really love the dark kind of dingy purpleness about this palette. I will definitely be keeping that. I grabbed it last week. I think I used it for an eyeshadow look. It's definitely still getting use out of the eyeshadow palette. Another one that is no longer available, this is the Anastasia Sultry. I know it's not available, but I'll absolutely be keeping this one. This is one of the most beautiful, smoky, really sexy eyeshadow palettes I own. I love this for a night out or anything I need. Really impactful metallics. I love that one so much. Definitely not going to get rid of it. And one I could consider decluttering, but I'm not going to. This is the Dose of Colors Staycation. I really like this. It's nothing super unique, but the metallics are really stunning. The mattes are just nice mattes, but I'm going to keep it because this was one of my first expensive purchases. I love the packaging. I do still gravitate towards this palette often, so I'm going to keep this one. I do really like it. I don't use it all that often, and I could declutter it, but I'm not going to. Alright, so I needed to grab a soda. My throat's dry. I've been talking for a while, and I still have quite a few eyeshadow palettes to do. The next one is going to be my Physicians Formula, the Ultimate Murmur Butter Collection. I love this so much. This is not only an eyeshadow palette, and it probably should be in my face palette, but it is bronzers and eyeshadows. You have blushes and lip. This gives you absolutely everything you could ever need for an entire face except for your base products. I'm going to go ahead and definitely keep this palette, and it's really inexpensive, so I like that about it as well. This one is kind of a difficult one. This is the Alamar Cosmetics, the Rain Del Cabra Volume 1 palette. When I bought this, I loved it so much. I got so much use out of it. The metallics are really gorgeous. This metallic right here, El Malcon, it is so stunning. One of those really beautiful kind of taupey green colors. I love this palette a lot. I don't know if I need to keep it though, because these are all really warm down here, which I don't do warm all that often anymore. I think what I'm going to do is keep this in my collection. If I do not use it at all this next summer, then at the end of the summer, I will declutter this one. It is so pretty. I really like it, and I've loved it for a really long time. But I haven't gone into this one in so long that I don't know if I can justify keeping it anymore. I did get tons of use out of it. It got lots of love from me. But if I don't grab for it by the end of the summer, I will declutter it. But I'm going to keep my collection for now. Another one I am going to go ahead and declutter. This is the ColourPop Truly, Madly, Deeply palette. This is so pretty. My sister did gift this to me quite a while ago. The only issue is I don't wear pinks and mauves all that often. And when I do, I use more like the Blood Sugar palette or like bright neon pinks like the Surge palette. I don't really use these very rosy kind of light tones, so I don't think I'm going to go ahead and keep this. I do love this pressed pigment, and that is Hungry Ghost, but that does come in another palette that I have. I do think sadly I'm going to declutter this eyeshadow palette. I just don't use it a whole lot, even though it is really pretty, and I love like this color, which is Mr. Sandman. That's really pretty. But there are 3 pressed glitters in here. This one, and this one, and I don't use those all that often. And if I do, it's really like a light color, and I'll tap it on top just to add a little bit of brightness to the look. I do think I'm going to go ahead and declutter this eyeshadow palette. I just don't use it all that often. Next is the Profusion. This is the Desert Sage eyeshadow palette. I am wearing this eyeshadow palette today, and you will see in that video, I just don't think this is all that great of a palette. There are some colors that are absolutely stunning, like this taupe down here, and some of these greens are really pretty. I find that this is such a hit and miss palette. Half the eyeshadows are really pretty, the other half are just so lackluster. It takes a lot to build up, and if you watch the video that I did today, you will see they just get kind of splotchy and kind of weird. So as much as I love this color story, I do think I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. It was super inexpensive. I have used it 5 or 6 times, and the first 2 times I really liked how the look turned out, and I think I was using kind of those green colors. But then I tried to use the pinks, and the pinks are not good. The blues are really not great. These darker metallics do not have good pigment at all. So I think sadly I am going to go ahead and declutter this eyeshadow palette. I thought it was so pretty, but I just don't think the quality is there. I'm also going to go ahead and declutter. This is the Revolution Reloaded Division. This is supposed to be the Anastasia Subculture dupe. I love the Subculture. That was my absolute first favorite dingy, grungy eyeshadow. I loved the color story. It's what got me into the neutrals and the kind of taupier green. I really disliked that formula, so I decluttered that one, and then I found this one, which is supposed to be a dupe. But then the colors are really lackluster as well, and I have found some really incredible palettes, like the Made by Mitchell that has pretty much the exact same color story. The Jeffree Star Alien has the same color story, and I have a few other palettes that I could easily dupe the Subculture with with the palettes I have with formulas I really like. And this formula was very lackluster, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. The reason I bought the Profusion Desert Sage palette is because of the Profusion Love You So Brunch palette. This was their spring release last year. This is such a pretty palette. I really loved the colors of this, and then when I bought it, I've really gotten tons of use out of it. I think these colors definitely blend better than the Desert Sage. I find that these are a lot more pigmented. They blend a lot better. I really love the pops of green and blue and pink, and then how half the palette is really neutral and everyday. I like this one a lot more, so I'm going to keep this one because I find that they worked a lot better than the Desert Sage palette. Two little palettes I will definitely be keeping. These are the e.l.f. Bite Size eyeshadow palettes. These are not the best formula in the entire world, but I do really like the formula. I think it is very just easy to use. This one is Hot Jalapeno. Love, of course, the greens. I don't have to keep these, but I like them because they are really inexpensive. So if I'm trying to do a full face of my cheapest makeup I have, these are definitely something I would use because they are either $3 or $4. They're really good ones. And this one is Truffle. If I'm grabbing eyeshadow for an every single day look, this is one of my favorites. I have 4 kind of longer ones. So this one's a really hard one for me. This is the Dose of Colors Marvelous Mauve. The formula is incredible. I love the formula. Every time I grab these, I am like shocked by how well they blend. So this is a 5-pan all matte eyeshadow palette. I don't go for these colors all that often. I don't think they're super flattering with my blue eyes, but the formula is so incredible. So it's like if I am needing these colors, these work so well, and I will definitely grab for them. I've used it quite a lot. I just don't know if I need to keep it. I think what I'm going to do with this one is kind of the same as the LMR Cosmetics one. I'm going to keep it if I do not use this within the next 4 or 5 months. I'm going to declutter. I have held on for so long because the formula really is incredible. I do like the palette a lot. I don't have these colors in other palettes. I don't use these colors very often. But if I'm wanting to do a matte purpley look, I would go for this one because I really like the formula. So I'll keep it. If I don't use it, I will declutter it. Next one is the Blink X BoxyCharm Electric Eye Palette. I kept this one for the exact same reason that I kept the ColourPop one, the Precious Metals, is because these metallics are absolutely incredible. They have so much payoff. They're just stunning, but I have all of these colors in every other palette that I own. So this is just not something super unique to my collection anymore. It is beautiful. They work really well, but I just have these colors in probably about 17 other eyeshadow palettes. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one as well. I have 2 eyeshadow palettes from Natasha Denona. I got both of these in my BoxyCharm. So this first one is Peak. So this is a very warm eyeshadow palette with golds and oranges. I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. I don't find the formula super extraordinary, and I definitely do not use these eyeshadow colors very often. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter that one. One is the Ayana palette. So I'm definitely going to keep these. These are my type of tones. Cool tone, neutral, taupey, this kind of swampy nude color. I'm going to go ahead and keep this one, but declutter the Peak one. Next, I have the Kaleidos. This is a Flower Punk. This is a beautiful eyeshadow palette. I will definitely be keeping this one. One of my favorites in my collection. And then I have the Melt Mary Jane eyeshadow palette, another smoky lover's dream. I love this one so much. It has beautiful, beautiful colors, so I will absolutely be keeping that one. And then another one of my absolute favorites from my collection is the Black Moon Cosmetics Urban Myth palette. This is so stunning, super unique, really, really gorgeous eyeshadow palette. Love the colors in this one and will be absolutely keeping that one. That I often keep in my makeup kit when I'm doing bridal makeup. This is the Tarte. I believe this is the Clay to Play Face Shaping palette. I love this one a lot because I have the brightening colors, but they can also be used as just mattes for your eyes. And then I have contour and bronzer. So it's a very versatile palette. I could use this for all matte eyeshadow look, or I could use it for the whole face. I do really like Tarte's formula in this palette. I think it works really well. I do only have one Juvia's Place eyeshadow palette. This is the Zulu. This is so pretty. I really love this one. I will keep this one because when I'm doing a sunset type look, I love going for this one. I really love every color. I do kind of wish that there was a lighter metallic color, but I really like this eyeshadow palette a lot. The newish eyeshadow palette to my collection, this is the ODEN'S XL Angelica. This is the HELA palette. This is so stunning. I do have a review just recently here up on my channel, so if you'd like to see my thoughts and the look I created using this palette, go ahead and check that one out. I will leave it linked down below, but this is a really beautiful palette. I love the color story a lot. Very pretty, and I'm really excited to be trying Oden's Eye. It was the first Oden's Eye palette that I'd ever tried. I really love my Tarte Artist Pro palettes. I have just the Pro one. This is a all matte, and then it has 4 metallics. I really love this one. I use this a lot for wedding makeup as well. The Remix is really cool. Love this one a lot too. This one is all metallic except for there are 3 mattes, so I really love this for metallics. A lot of the time in my kit, I take this one, the Pro, and then just the Clay Play, and those are the 3 palettes that I always take for doing wedding or prom or anything like that. They're just really good, reliable eyeshadow palette. Next, I have the Be Beauty Barabella palette. This is a really shocking, surprising eyeshadow palette. I didn't think I was going to love this. A lot of overlaying colors, but the formulas are all different. There are wet, there are kind of more sheer, there's super heavy metal metallics. This is a really good eyeshadow palette. I love this one. It's not super unique, but I do love the looks I get out of it. Next is my Sydney Grace X Mela Thompson. This is the Tiny Marvels, one of my favorites. Absolutely love this palette, super stunning. I will always keep this one in my collection. It has a lot of sentimental value. I really love this palette a lot, and the looks are beautiful. One I should probably declutter. I'll probably hold on to it. This is the Urban Decay Pirates of the Caribbean palette. This is a crap palette. It does not work very well. Not pigmented. I do not like the colors, but it is Pirates of the Caribbean. I love Pirates of the Caribbean, so I will hold on to this one. I have 4 of the ColourPop 9-pan palette. The first one and one of my favorites is That's Taupe. This is a really great, neutral, everyday, easy eyeshadow palette. Love this one so much. I really love the depth of the different colors, and the metallics are stunning. This one is the Super Shock, really beautiful. Next is my Honey palette. Love this one so much. Yellows, greens, my favorite. This is a really great monochromatic yellow palette. Next is my Meant to Be. I like this one. It's not my most favorite of all of them. It's hard to get variety from this palette. A lot of them look a lot alike once they're on the eye, but I really do love a beautiful little mint moment, so I like this palette a lot, and I will be keeping it. Just My Luck, love this one so much. The greens are really pretty. There are some really cool murky greens up top. Love this one a lot. And this kind of chartreuse color is so pretty. Next, I have my Sugar Pill Fun Size. I love this one so much. They're all mattes, but they're so unique colors. They just have a little bit of a twist to the undertone. Like this is a green, but it is very murky. This is an orange, but it's kind of a yellow toned orange. This is a really beautiful lime green, but more pastel. I really like this eyeshadow palette because they are all really kind of different undertones that I don't find in other palettes. Next is the Beauty Bean and Shroud Cosmetics. It's freaking bats. This is such an incredible eyeshadow palette. Love the formula. Really like the color story. I think it is a very unique eyeshadow palette, and I love having this one in my collection. I lied. I do have another one from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. This is the Mini Break. So it's just a mini 9-pan palette. I do think I'm going to declutter this one. 2 of my least favorite eyeshadow colors is orange and purple, and that's pretty much everything in this palette. I bought it just because of the hype, and I was really excited because I like his palettes. But to be honest, I don't even know if I've used this once, and if I have, I probably reached into other colors. So I think I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. This color right here, which is Oral, is really pretty, and I love this brown so much. This is Hot Fudge, but I'm not going to keep it just for those 2 colors, so I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one and pass it on to someone that might use it. So the last eyeshadow palette, it is not available, but I will be keeping it. This is the ColourPop X Kathleen Lights The Zodiac. I love this. I still gravitate to this eyeshadow palette probably at least once to twice a month. I really love it. I think it's really pretty. I love the metallics, and I think this is a really good collaboration. One of my favorites from ColourPop for sure, so I will definitely be keeping it. I am only decluttering 12 eyeshadow palettes. I think that is good. Everything else just brings me so much joy, so I will definitely be keeping it into my collection. I wasn't trying to do a huge declutter. Just get rid of the palettes that just don't bring me joy, and I don't use all that often, so I feel good about that. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I am sorry if it's extremely long. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye guys.